Well, shalom, shalom, everybody. Ariel Tzadok here from the Kosher Torah School, found online at www.KosherTorah.com. We are in a new series of classes, which I have entitled the secrets, so we can call it that, the biblical secrets, if you will, of the prophetic Kabbalah. Again, let's put some things into a context. Here we are today. And as you know, in the world of religion, in the world of spirituality, there are a gazillion different things that everybody does, everybody believes, and everybody goes in every which way, whatever. And of course, oh gosh, it reminds me of the old saying attributed to the founder of the Barnum and Bailey Circus, right? There's a sucker born every minute. And the old Yankee Clipper saying, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. When it comes to spiritual and religious beliefs, oh my goodness. Have you really, from a scholarly point of view, ever looked about what's out there? It is amazing. It's kind of like the Amazon.com trying to find something. And you know what's the most frustrating thing? Is people always look, they approach me as the rabbi, and they always ask me the one question that I do not have an answer to. And I will say I'm pretty sure with authority, even though everyone will disagree, I say with authority this: I don't have the answer for this question, and neither does anyone else. And that question is, Rabbi, what is the real truth? The objective reality, where all the other things are lies. And what's the one truth? Well, what is that one truth? Well, in all due respect, isn't it depending on who you ask? If you go online, and of course you can, you go to YouTube, type in religious ideas and beliefs. Oh my goodness, I can't even imagine how many responses we get on Google and stuff like that. Everybody's going to say, this is the truth, and this is the way it is, and everyone else is wrong and stuff. And that's what I love about Torah, specifically Rabbinic Judaism. You see, the one thing I love about Rabbinic Judaism is this: nowhere does any rabbi say, and pray God never will say, our way was given to us by God. No, the Torah comes from God. That was given to Moshe Rabbeinu at Mount Sinai. What we have is called the traditions of our ancestors, our fathers. Probably includes our mothers as well. Why? Because in all due respect, let's be honest, even though the books will quote from the name of the rabbi, every rabbi, there is a rabbinite standing behind him. That's the way it always was. Go study Gemara. We have stories, and you will see that very, very clearly. All right? Off camera to the side is my rabbinite. And oy voy, right? She'll inspire me in many a different way. And let's just leave it at that. All right? I've been yelling and screaming. That's right. Pretty much. Pushing her to try to get on camera. But, what can I say? I'm fighting her natural way. She always says, yeah. And when the time comes, okay. So, devar be'ito. But my point is this. Our rabbinic tradition contains many, many different ideas, many, many different paths. And that's what I think is so great and beautiful about it. You see, today, look at what's happening in the world today, the current events. We have such division, such strife, this one against that one, fighting, war, violence, and absolute insanity with the breakdown of justice and law and order, which are the foundations of any stable, sane society. You know what the Torah's response to that is? It's almost very libertarian. It's live and let live, but within a proper boundary of context. For those of you who are familiar with the history of the United States of America, this country was not founded to be a democracy. No, the founding fathers didn't give a darn. They founded this as what's called a republic, based upon specific principles, which are unnegotiable, unchangeable. And you want to know something? That's pretty much what the Torah is as well. It is the concept of unalienable, unchangeable principles. Now, with regards to the practice and observance of ritual law, how do I observe the Sabbath? What is kosher? How do I pray? Any opinion that you want to bring down in answer to any question, not only will I show you an opposite valid opinion, I'll probably show you 2 or 3 others as well. I think that's a good thing, because we have a very strict monolithic path, which is in itself totally pluralistic. You have fluidity in rigidity, and rigidity in the fluidity. That kind of doesn't sound right, Rabbi. It sounds kind of confusing. Yeah, because when you want to think of things from a philosophical, theoretical point of view, yeah, you can get all confused. As I said, and I do this every now and then. I go online and I look at these different theological videos or different religious statements that this one or that one makes from different religions. And I sit there, and it's all boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom. Well, in case you haven't known from me here at the KosherTorah School, I'm not a boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba kind of guy, unless, of course, we're practicing Krav Maga, martial arts, and the like, and then I give you the boomba without getting the boomba back. That's the bam. I unfortunately had an unpleasant experience this past week with somebody who unfortunately lost a friend, but because they made a very terrible error of judgment. They thought that as a rabbi, like a Christian, I turned the other cheek. And I made it very, very clear to this individual, oh, nay, nay, nay. I am of the eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth kind of guy. All right? I believe firmly in what is right and what is wrong, based upon the concepts of what I understand, and I believe in justice. Now, these foundations are very, very important, because everything that I'm talking to you about now is necessary to understand the foundations of what I'm calling here the biblical sources of the prophetic Kabbalah. The word Kabbalah, everybody always applies it, mysticism, Zohar, Ariel, Sephirot, and all this. And you have that group, even within total, very serious Orthodox Judaism, which fundamentally rejects the Zohar and Kabbalah because of their interpretation of it. Are they heretics to be banished? Are they going to hell because of their violation? No, we don't think like that. We don't act like that. Let me rephrase that. There are those who will disagree and those who agree, whatever. That's, as I said, that pluralism, which is beautiful within the parameters of the rigidity. The word Kabbalah means the teachings of the prophets. And what the prophets have taught us, not only by word, but by deed. And that's why we're going back to these stories with Eliyahu and Elisha. And we're learning from these realistic, practical experiences of spirituality. Realistic, practical spirituality is not theory. It's not philosophy. It is dealing with the reality of the world, with all the ups and all the downs and all the ins and all the outs, with all the mistakes therein. For those of you who watch me, you know I've been doing daily classes in the morning in the Sefer Yetzirah. I think today I just did class number 69. And every now and then I goof up. I say something wrong. Something happens. Good old Sierra might just jump on my lap. She's sitting here right now. You should know. Hi, Sierra. Anyway, my point is why I don't pause, edit, and come out with a nice, coherent package is because that's fake. That's not real. What am I teaching you if I present to you what's fake? Because you turn around and look at your everyday real life, and you see the ups and the downs, the good and the bad, the clean and the dirty, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, even without Clint Eastwood in it. Remember the movie? All right? But that's real. That's what our Bible teaches us. Something that's real. What our sages in the Gemara taught us. Something that is real. Real people living real lives with real problems. And that is why I love this path. We are not dealing with the heavenly minded, that we become no earthly good. We don't give a darn about the afterlife and where we're going in heaven or this place or that place. Why? Because I'm here. This is now. That's all I'm interested in. The purpose of the Torah is not that we become so pure and holy that we rise to heaven. What do I want to go to heaven for? Right? Hashemayim shemayim laHashem, ha'aretz natan lefnei Adam. The heavens belong to God. The earth he gave to the children of human beings. That's us. So, look at our Torah tradition. What does our future tell us? A messianic era. Where does that take place? It doesn't take place in heaven, right here on earth. And then after the messianic era, what happens then? Resurrection. We're back down here on earth. Even Isaiah speaks of the new heavens and the new earth. Now you're going to say, well, the earth isn't going to be the way that it is now. Yeah, that's true. We're going to have something. Oh, you might not like that word. Evolution. Yeah, we're all going to evolve. When the powers of the mind truly embrace the reality of the greater experience of the world around us, then everything that we see is going to change. And we are going to experience a greater world. And that will be what we call the dawn of the Messianic era. And eventually we'll evolve beyond that to what we call the world to come. What are you guys laughing at over there? The Rabbinit and Sierra are having a conversation over here. And, you should know, Rabbinit Eli, right? She's European. She's very, very strict and serious with stuff. Not like me. I'm the uncouth American. I don't care. Interrupt class, don't interrupt class. Why? Like I said, the wave and flow of things. And I teach you this, and I embrace you, and I bring you into this so you can feel the flow of it as well. I don't want to sit here like your professional teacher and say A, B, C, D. All right? You got all my other peers who are out there doing that stuff. You're not going to find that here. I have no patience for that. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe I'm too ornery. Whatever I am, but that's the way it is. And you know who I learned that from? The Bible. Our sages. Who were, God bless them, the most down-to-earth, good human beings. With the highs and the lows and the goods and the bads. Now, we are in the middle of discussing the story of Eliyahu HaNavi. And again, we have such a history of legend and stories. And I asked you in our previous class, if you could close your eyes and visualize Eliyahu, what do you think he'd look like? And almost everybody was saying, oh, of course, he's an old man. He has a long white beard, and he's wearing his big robes. I said, who are you describing? What is this, like Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars? Are you describing me Alec Guinness's character? What are you talking about? Eliyahu in the Bible is a real weirdo. We discussed this in our previous class. He's coming out of nowhere. He's going back to nowhere. In the next chapter, when he is going to encounter King Ahav, and he meets Obadiah, and he says, go tell the king I'm coming. He says, I'm not telling the king you're coming. I know you. You're going to go flying off somewhere. No one knows where you go. No one knows when you come. You're something. You're not normal. like that. But at the same time, Eliyahu is the most down-to-earth, normal human being who, this is a freaky guy. He's got powers and abilities far beyond that of mortal men. Do you remember the introduction to the old 1950s George Reeves Superman TV show? Remember, faster than a speeding bullet? I mean, that's the kind of guy Eliyahu was. He was a real Superman in his day. People feared this guy. And yet at the same time, Superman was normal man. And that's what we need to understand. Because we want to talk about spirituality in reality, rather than look at all the different things of everybody telling us what is and what isn't, we are still left with the daily experiences that we have to deal with on a daily basis. And it's these role models. Their role models, remember Hebrew, Kabbalah. Prophetic Kabbalah is the teachings and the experiences of these guys and gals. Got to be all inclusive, right? You got mighty people in it, the Barahulda and the like, right? I've taught classes on them before, and you know what? We're going to go back. I haven't taught biblical classes in a long time, and I make a mistake in my mentality. I say, I did something once, don't have to do it again. That was like 20 years ago. Maybe people need to relearn these things again. 20 years is a long time. The great lessons of our experiential spirituality is learned from these experiences here. And yeah, we have the practices of meditations with sound techniques and mantras and expanded meditations and visualizations from the biblical Saga of Eliyahu, schools of the prophets. Remember, with the dancing and the music and all the rest of that stuff. Most rabbis today don't teach this stuff. I do. And you will experience the greater reality of your world we live in. That's what this is all about. We all know the famous story. Eliyahu was taken up in a chariots of fire, horses of fire. Really? Okay. Was that a UFO? I don't know. All right. Okay. Chariot of fire. I can understand that being a biblical understanding of some kind of a transportation device. What the heck are the horses? Giant horses. What's that all about? When we try to interpret the metaphorical as literal, we end up with all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Something took Eliyahu somewhere. Elisha saw it and describes it as that. I'm pretty sure they weren't horses that were like doused in lighter fluid and set on fire to look cool like in the movies. They weren't glowing horses. They were something. As to what that is, we don't know. But the reality is there's a big world around us that we don't know. And the purpose of our biblical Kabbalah is not metaphysical, philosophical concepts and ideas. This is what you got to believe. This is what you got to do, or God's going to get you. God's already got you, all right? God's not this little old man with the white beard, just like Eliyahu isn't. And we're living in a greater world. The historical Eliyahu, when he came down to earth, he's described as being a pretty strong guy. He's doing big stuff. Why would we think that he's an old man? Well, the Midrash associates him with Phineas, this grandson of Aaron a Kohen. And if he were physically and literally Pinchas, he would have been a very, very old man. And I don't think he'd be having the powers and abilities to do this really rugged stuff. In my eye, the historical Eliyahu most likely was appearing as a man in middle age as opposed to old age. And in olden days, all right, they were pretty strong because they had to do a lot of physical work. So you could think of Eliyahu as pretty much having really solid build on him, right? He probably had real good biceps and triceps, big bulging chest. Did he have nice flat washboard abs? I doubt it, because that wasn't the culture and the norm in the day. But this is a guy who's given examples of having tremendous aerobic abilities, physical abilities. So he was a pretty tough guy. He's not the kind of guy that you would have picked on and said, dirty Jew. He would have turned around and belted you so hard, he probably would have crushed your skull with a single punch. And he was a tough guy. That's the way he was. That's the way all ancient Israel was. And like I said, we're the culture of the eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. We're not to turn the other cheek. And for the record, neither was Yeshu, the historical Yeshu. This is the guy who always advised his Talmidim, remember, carry swords, right? And another topic for another time. Go on to KosherTorah and see my teachings on the Gospel of Matthew. But okay, I set the groundwork again so that when we look at these stories here and we go now on a journey, I want you to experience this. Think about these things as we learn them. You have a Bible in front of you. Which version of the Bible? I don't care. What real difference does it make? Are there translations, some better than others? Yeah, probably. But do you really think that this little word here or that little word there really makes that much of a difference? If it does, you go to commentary and you find out. No, I'm not a big fan of the 1600s King James Bible that's famously used in the Protestant traditions, all right? The These and the Thous Bible. That's very cool, very big here in the West. Yeah, I'm not into it. And original Jewish translations also had the These and the Thous because that was considered very religious. Well, in those days, in the biblical days, no one had These and Thous. They didn't have a religious language. They spoke like everyday people, like you and me. That's why I like more modern translations, which just give you the gut essence of what's going on. So in that respect, as I read, this is not an academic course in Hebrew grammar. This is to get you into the flow and the spirit and the intent of what the author of these books have for us through the centuries to learn. That's why these stories are universal. As Carl Jung would refer to them, they're archetypal. They have profound messages for us to learn. And now, let's go back to our story. You remember, Eliyahu went and said to King Achav, not going to be any rain until I say so. And then he hightails it out. So, he goes and hightails it, and he is hanging out now in what would be modern-day Jordan, on the east side of the Jordan River. And he is in touch with a group called the Ravens. Some think that they were actual birds, and I hear that they're very smart and intelligent birds. But at the same time, you will find that commentators, and I'm pretty much of that opinion, opinions, remember I said that in Judaism, very pluralistic, that the Aravim, the Ravens, was actually a secret code for probably a secret society of those who were protecting members of the faith. I'm more of that persuasion. So he's hanging out on the eastern side of the Jordan, and he's being fed bread and meat every day. That's right. Eliyahu HaNavi, the great and holy one himself, was a junk food addict. Every day all he ate was hamburgers and hot dogs. Bread and meat and bread. McDavid's, that's where it was. McDavid's, right? Burger Melech, that's where he got his stuff from. Prove me wrong. That's what it says. He ate meat and bread. I don't know. He ate it separate. Maybe he rolled it up and he had a hamburger. Prove me wrong. Enjoy. Okay, let's get to our text. So he's staying there until the water from a specific brook dries up. And then God says to him, all right, the brook's dried up. I'm going to send you up to Zarephath. Zarephath is all the way up by Sidon, which is kind of like in Lebanon. Now, I got a problem with that. Wait a second. You're Eliyahu HaNavi. God gave you the power and the ability to control the weather. You don't think that, like Moses, you can't like strike a rock and make water come out of it? Why is it if the water is gone, you just don't hocus pocus and make magic water appear? I mean, you are a prophet of God. You have that power, right? Like powers and abilities far beyond that of mortal men. Super rabbi, super prophet. How come? Answer, that's just not the way things always work. And this is what is the profound insight. We come to the idea of miracles thinking they're magic. Magic appears. Wiggle my nose. My lips. Poof. Magic appears. What kind of magic would you like to see? Would you like to see pink unicorns flying in my office here? Poof. There they are. Please. They're not really there. Don't claim that I'm saying. But my point is, it's not like this. And so many of us come to religion today, and we think, if I say this prayer, or if I recite this psalm, or if I say this magical ritual, magic happens. I want to be a millionaire. Rabbi, what prayer can I say? Well, if I had an absolute equation, you know, like the equal signs in math, say this prayer and it will guarantee you $1 million, I would copyright that prayer and I would sell it for 10 cents to the dollar. How come no rabbi in the entire history, no religious man in the entire history of humanity can do that? Because it's not real. Don't fall for the snake oil salesmen who tell you all this kind of mumbo jumbo. I'm going to remove the evil eye from you. I see spirits. Eeny, meeny, chilly, beady, these spirits are about to speak. How many of you remember Rocky and Bullwinkle? Please, when you see these modern day guys, be a little bit more sophisticated. That's not the way Eliyahu HaNavi works. Eliyahu HaNavi, he's a big guy. I follow in his footsteps. And when there's no water, didn't work. Wiggle the nose, no water. God says, not only are you going to split from this place, you're moving to a new country. That's pretty far to go for water. He's moving from modern-day Jordan to modern-day Lebanon. You go look that up on the map. I'm not certain, but I'm pretty sure it's a few hundred miles. Okay. It says here, you're going to go up there, and I've commanded a certain widow to feed you there, okay? And he rose, and he went to Zarephath, and he comes to the entrance of the city. Gee whiz. And he rose, and he went there. How do you think he got there? Ugh, come on. He obviously took a bus, or a train, or an airplane. How do you think he got there? Oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. This was, what, 3,000 years ago? 2,500, 2,700 years. They didn't have modern technology. How do you think he got there? Dramatic pause for you to think. Now, remember this. As you will see in the next chapter, King Ahab is really, I'm going to say it because I want to make the point. He's pissed at Eliyahu. He wants this guy's head. All right? He has sent out what we would call today bounty hunters. Ancient Baba Fett's. He says, you find this guy and you bring him to me. And it says in the next chapters, we'll see. He sent out people to every kingdom all over. I got a price on this SOB's head. I want him. You find him, and I'll pay you for it. So this guy is a wanted man. How does a wanted man get around from point A to point B? Okay, they didn't have modern day social media. His face wasn't plastered all over the ancient internet. There was none. All right. Most likely, people had never ever seen his physical face. They wouldn't recognize him if he was standing next to Tom, Dick, or Harry. But nonetheless, a description of him was probably made, whether he was high or low, wide or thin, how long his beard was, this or that. And it's not like in those days people learned how to, disguise themselves. We live in a completely artificial society, in which we've learned from TV and movies to completely create all kinds of artificial images. They didn't do that in those days. Eliyahu had to protect his identity. So you can imagine moving from Jordan to Lebanon wasn't the easiest thing in the world. Granted, they had trade routes. They had roads. There was travel. There were pondakim, which is like hotels. And these were well-traveled roads. This was, in the ancient world wasn't, this antiquated, primitive way. They were very sophisticated in their day. They had everything pretty much that we have today. So if he's moving up and down the interstate highway, somebody somewhere, especially a spy, And I said, you know what? Maybe that's him. So he had to move clandestinely. That much we know. Why? Isn't he the spiritual Superman? Let him walk with impunity. And if a spy spots him, and if bounty hunters, right? Couldn't he do just like a Darth Vader? I find your lack of faith disturbing. Right? No, he doesn't do that, does he? And remember, in the next chapter, this is the guy who calls down fire from heaven. So he's got powers. This is the guy who holds back rain. How come he's not doing a Darth Vader? How come he's not just saying, out of my way, these are not the droids you're looking for. I'm not the man you're looking for. How come? Because that's not normal. Only at times do certain things happen in accordance to these higher parameters. And at other times, you gotta follow the natural way. This is why our great and smart sages said, "In somchim ala nes." Don't rely on miracles. So, I am the great and holy prophet Eliyahu, and I know King Ahab and all of his spies are looking for me. I have no fear. I'm going to march my way to Lebanon as God commanded. And anyone who dares approach me, I will zap them. I will destroy them. Our story probably would have ended along that road because Eliyahu probably would have been killed. Well, what about God? What about God? God didn't tell Eliyahu to be stupid. God told Eliyahu pretty much, and this is the rule. When something needs to be done in what we will call a supernatural way, fine. Otherwise, everything's done in the natural way. Well, gee whiz, how do I know when is what and what is when? Well, when you're a prophet and you're at that prophetic school, you'll know. It's not to be defined by theory. It's not to be decided by philosophy. You and I cannot argue and debate the point. It just is. That's just the way it is. I don't like that answer, Rabbi. It's too nebulous. That's just too bad. It's nebulous. That's life. Life is nebulous. And you got to feel it. You got to go with the flow. Right? Oh, you got to feel the force. How do we say that? That's right. Love Hashem your God with all your heart. These words which I command you this day shall be upon your heart. Never says anything about the head. Feeling, not emotionally, but that deep intuitive psychic way. Eliyahu understood that. He understood how things work. Now, we just laid down a principle of practicality and rationality, did we not? Now I'm going to contradict the whole thing. That's right, contradict. Let's go on with the story. So he goes up to Zarephath. He goes to the entrance, and it says, remember, God says, I'm sending you to the house of a specific widow. All right? Woman lost her husband, and you're going to stay by her. She'll take care of you. Really? You got a single man staying at the house of a single woman. Now, in those days, a widow, especially if she has a young son living with her, couldn't have been that old. In those days, women got married, in all honesty, at the age of puberty. So you were married at 12, 13 years old. If she has a son living with her, then this boy is clearly under the age, on the outside, 20. Highest he could have been, or otherwise he would have been on his own. So the mother, this widow, is somewhere less than 33 years old. By ballpark, by rational analysis. She's a woman in her late 20s, early 30s. Okay? That's how we would analyze her age. Now, Eliyahu comes. And Eliyahu, remember, he's not this old man. He's probably this big, rippled, strong, tough guy. Right? Probably, by modern standards, probably very sexy. And God says, go live with this woman, who is a young, most likely attractive woman. God says to do that. You know, halakha forbids that. We don't have single men living with single women. I don't care if she's a widow or not. But God said to do it. She was a righteous woman. It wasn't a problem. Today, it's forbidden. But then, probably it's forbidden then too. Maybe that's why no one would ever suspect that Eliyahu was there. How could God command us to do something that's forbidden? You know what? Deal with what the text says. What can I say? Don't learn from this to go shack up. Please, that is not what we do. Okay? We have a little bit more respect for each other than just as physical objects. And there's obviously absolutely zero intent or implication of anything hanky-panky going on between Eliyahu and this woman. Everything was 1,000,000% kosher and above board. So let's not go there. Continuing with the story. She's out there gathering wood, right? So he calls her and says, hey, can I have a little water so I can drink? Sure. Yeah, right? It was like, at the well, like with Jacob and Rachel and all that, and Moses and Zipporah and all that. Okay. And then he says to her, can I also have a little bread? And she says, now, remember, God commanded this woman to take care of Eliyahu HaNavi. How did she get that message? Somehow, somewhere, somebody communicated it with her. Did an angel appear to her? We don't know. Did the secret society of the ravens somehow make the arrangements in advance? Probably. And they're probably the one who secreted Elijah from modern-day Jordan to what would have been today modern-day Lebanon. So everything was done all clandestine. The Zohar says something very wise and profound. Apply this. If you ever want a blessing on something, apply the great rule as we say it in good old Brooklyn, USA. Shut up your bigger mouth. In other words, keep a secret. All right? Don't tell anybody. Forget about it. A blessing resides on that which is concealed, not revealed. So this way there's no evil eye. I just had counseling with a student today who's under horrible stress and pressure in business because of all the evil eye on him. And this stuff is real. So Eliyahu avoided that. And that's what we need to learn. So he says to her, let me have a little bread. What's the problem? Go have a slice of bread. Remember, he's used to eating his bread and meat. He wants a hamburger, but no meat this time. But the woman says to him, as the Lord your God lives, right? If I have a cake, nothing but a handful of flour and a little oil in the flask, and behold, I'm gathering 2 pieces of wood. I'm going to come and make this for myself and for my son. We're going to eat it and we're going to die. Essentially, she says, hey, you want bread? Take a look how much bread I have. I got enough here to make 2 slices of bread, and that's it. I got nothing more. And when that's gone, we're done for. We're going to starve to death. There's just nothing left. Gee whiz. If you were the prophet of God, how would you respond to that? Wouldn't you say, my dear child, I feel so sorry for you. God's going to bless you and you give nice words, right? Well, we know that there's a positive ending to this story, but there's something very important that came in the middle. Let's read it. Eliyahu says to her, do not fear. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, prophet giving you comforting words. Come and do as you said. All right, make the bread for you and your son. But then he says this, listen. But first make for me a small cake from there and bring it out to me, and then for you and your son make later. What? This guy puts his own, is it selfish, needs before that of a starving widow and child? What a nasty thing to do. Can you imagine? You go in there, you find people who are homeless, people who are begging you for food on the road, and you say, I'm going to give to you, why don't you give to me first? I mean, you think about it. From our modern moralistic point of view, wouldn't that sound like real sheer arrogance? Nothing could be further from the truth. You have to understand what Eliyahu is doing here. Remember, we're dealing with prophetic consciousness, not morals of modern day. And then he says, for thus has spoken the Lord God of Israel. The pitcher of flour shall not end, nor the flask of oil be diminished until the day the Lord gives rain upon the land. So she went and did as Eliyahu said. She made for her and her household, and they ate for many days. And the pitcher of flour did not end, neither did the flask of diminish, as the word of God had spoken through Eliyahu. Wow. Let's understand what exactly happened here. First of all, Eliyahu says, you give first to the prophet. He didn't say, I'm hungry, make me bread, and in all due respect, if there's only X amount of bread left, how much could he really be asking for in the first place? And why would he be doing that? And this is something we need to understand. This is what we call in the Torah a ma'aser. A ma'aser from the word eser means a tenth, or in other words, a donation, an offering. You want something, you have to first give something. And let's not wax moralistically with this. Why? Oh, to show that you're worthy, to show that you're generous. Oh, yeah. Okay, we got all that stuff. But there's such a much more profound lesson here. Remember we said we were so rational up until now? And now all of a sudden, la la land, here we come. The supernatural. Eliyahu, this Superman, does a super deed. He takes the cake that has within it the flour and the oil. And what does he do with it? He somehow is able to tap into its psychic, its energetic source, and causes it to spawn, to regenerate over and over and over and over again. So he had, for example, like a little, let's say, 3-ounce Dixie cup of flour. You pour out 3 ounces of flour and you put the cup down. There's 3 ounces in it again. Pour out another 3 ounces. Put it down. 3 ounces a third time. Now I got 9 ounces out of a third cup. Well, how's that possible? Oil. Got a little thing of oil. Keep pouring, keep pouring, keep pouring. Remember, Elisha does this later. Okay. Well, what's going on here? How does this happen? A miracle from God. Well, remember something about, in quote, miracles. We discussed this in the previous class as well. Miracles work through natural law. God doesn't just, cut and paste. This isn't the Matrix, in which if you don't like the way the program is running, you just put in code. You change it. No, code's already written. The universe is already written. Eliyahu knew what we would today call the secret of the Sefer Yetzirah, kind of like what we're teaching in the course today, and knew how to transform and expand matter. He was able to tap into the source of flour, into the source of oil, and was actually able to tap into its chi, its orgone, its kundalini, its chiyuli, its original source of power, its nefesh soul. And that is that universal life force which surrounds us, the real force, not the one from Star Wars, and was able to draw from it through the vessel and materialize by transformation from its ethereal form, energetic form, into material form. E equals mc squared. Remember good old Einstein? That's the secret of how this all stuff works. There's no magic to it. It's a science, in which we take the vibrational force of the energy and we congeal it down into physical matter, and by matter projecting it into actual physical form. That's what Sefer Yetzirah is all about. And yeah, I'm kind of teaching about how this stuff is all done in that course. It's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's on my Patreon page. Go check it out. Now, this is why Eliyahu needed the cake first. Why? Because in order to do this, he had to first receive it. So if the woman ate the whole thing, there had been nothing left for him to have received. And this is the big secret. This expansion, this transformational process from energy to form and abundance is what we call in Hebrew a beracha, a blessing. We take something which is energetic, we congeal it into a form and project it out, and therefore materializing it in this space-time. That's called a baracha. And it's actually the secret of why in prayer we always say the words Baruch Atah Hashem. Blessed are you, O God. What do you mean, blessed are you? Oh God, you're great. Oh God, you're wonderful. God doesn't need us to tell him how wonderful he is. What do you think? He's a narcissist. He's got identity problems. He's got self-esteem issues. You need to praise him all the time. Come on. Let's transcend beyond such, narrow understandings. And the word Baruch doesn't mean that at all. Blessed. When we're saying the word Baruch in prayer, especially those who know the Kavanot of the Rashash, we are focusing on the higher energies. And we're literally, through the power of mind and form, congealing them down, bringing them out through the power of the spoken word. This is the Sefer Yetzirah spiritual technology. And that's why we take the word Baruch, congealing the form, Ata, bringing it down, and then Adonai, projecting it out into the specific vessel that we are directing it. And what is that direction? You have 101 blessings. It's each going in the different directions. Essentially, every time that we say a blessing, we are performing the ritual of the outside action that Eliyahu is doing here with the bread and the oil. So how come I can't take, I don't know, my water bottle and just have it go forever? Oh, you don't think things like that are done? Very famous story. All right, back in the 1980s, great holy rabbi in Israel, right, Rabbi Yisrael Abu Hatzira, known as Baba Sali. It was well known that he would take a bottle of arak. Remember, arak is the drink that North Africans, Moroccans would drink. And he would take a big full bottle, put a towel around it, and then start pouring out full glasses, not like little American shots, but big glasses. Moroccans, God bless them, they know how to drink. And he'd pour out drink, bottle, drink, cup after cup after cup, and he'd put the bottle down, and the bottle was still full. Magic. No. Eliyahu technology. And I know you're going to nod your head, says, Rabbi, that's a legend. Yeah, it's a nice story. It never happened. Well, I've told you this story before, and I'm going to tell it to you again right now. Well, years ago, in my previous marriage, when I got married, I was blessed by a member of the Abu Hatzira family to be given a bottle of this arak that came from Baba Sali's table. And I was told that this bottle, like the others, will not cease. Really? I laughed. I said, okay, I believe. And I said, I'll hold this bottle to the day my son was born, which he was over 20 years ago. And on that, his birth was on a Shabbat. I took out the bottle, opened it up, put the towel around it, and I said, all right, Hashem, you're the boss. We had over 100 people in our little apartment in Chicago for that Brit. And as God is my witness, I poured out glass after glass after glass of that arak. And when I opened that bottle, I took the towel off of it, that bottle was still 3/4 full. So that's not a legend. That's an experience of my own, and it was witnessed by everyone there. So there. So this is real. I've experienced it. And you could say, well, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, yes, it does. When you understand spiritual technology, yes, it does. That's what you need to understand what happened. And that's why he said, first give it to me. Not because he's selfish. He says, I need a vessel through which I can act. That's the secret of the ma'aser and the giving. So here at our KosherTorah school, I say the same thing to people. I say, hey, I'm here for you. You got to be here for me. And we have that symbiotic relationship where because people give to me, I'm able to give back. Gee, does that really work? Try it. See for yourselves. So, with that being said, and I think that's the most important lesson we need to understand now. Now I'm going to tell you the story of what happens with the little kid. All right? We move on in the story, and it states here, verse 17. And then after these things, the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, comes ill, and his illness is very serious until no soul was left in him. It doesn't say that he died. And she says to Eliyahu, what is there between me and you, man of God, that you come to me, cause my sins to be remembered, and kill my son? Oh, that's a pretty harsh thing to say. But that's the way it was looked at. Holy people, men and women, were considered, if you will, like taboo. They were considered intense. They were considered so righteous and so sacred that to have them in your presence made you look bad. Remember In the olden days, it says you couldn't even see an angel on the face of God because you fear you'd die, because they were considered so super special. Well, that's obviously the way the woman looked at Eliyahu. This is Superman. I mean, good gosh, the miracle that she just experienced here. Was it really a miracle? Should I call it that? So she knew. And all of a sudden, her son gets ill. Now, why would she blame him all of a sudden instead of saying nature or an illness? Maybe it was COVID-19 or COVID 700 BCE, whatever. All right? No. She was a psychically in tuned woman. And it doesn't say why her son got sick. It's very possible. Somehow, somewhere, what her sins were, who knows? But somehow, somewhere, this is how she felt. Because they had such an awe and a respect and a fear of proper, true, righteous, and holy individuals. Something so grossly lacking from us today. But moving right along. So what does Eliyahu do? Let's give me your son. All right? Takes it from her, takes him upstairs into the chamber. Why upstairs in the chamber? How come he doesn't want to do a miracle in front of everybody? Well, did he really do a miracle? Or is he just using our spiritual technology again? He lays him on the bed and he calls out to God, Lord, all right, this woman with whom I'm journeying, you brought evil upon her to kill her son? Hey, what's going on here? And he prostrates himself on the boy 3 times. 3, not 2. 3, not 4. And he calls to the Lord and says, Lord my God, restore the soul of the child within him. And then says that the Lord hearkened to the voice of Eliyahu and the child's soul was restored within him and he lived. Okay. Number one, it doesn't say that he actually died. But we got this really weird thing here. I mean, what's this lying on him and having to do this like 3 times stuff? What's that all about? Why? Remember, in ancient Israel, there was an oral tradition of natural healing, an understanding of energy, just like we've been talking about. And Eliyahu just used that same energetic force. And if you will, he jump-started the kid's soul. That's what it was. Nowhere does it say God revived him. It says God heard Elijah's voice. It doesn't say his words. There's a big difference between voice and words. We learned that from Mount Sinai. A word is something heard verbally. A voice is something heard telepathically, psychically. Eliyahu used the knowledge of the force of nature, supernatural or natural, call it whatever you want, and he knew how to revive this child's soul, his life force energy called nefesh. How he did it, we don't know. But that is what was done. Just like later when he's praying for rain, he has to do things over and over again. That's exactly what's going on here. That's why he had to lay him out on the bed, and that's why he has to perform an actual psychic healing medical ritual. It wasn't like calling down fire from heaven like he's going to do later. He just doesn't lie the child down in front of everybody in the town and said, let me show you the power of the Lord. Child, arise. And he would have arisen and everyone would go, ooh, wow, that's cool. So was this really a resurrection from the dead? I'm not so sure. But what it was the application of the usage of a psychic spiritual technology. This is prophetic Kabbalah. This is Bible stuff. People say, oh, psychic healing, that's all modern stuff, and it's not biblical at all. Yes, it is biblical. It's right here. So you must understand that when we're talking about psychic energies, transforming energy into reality and form, I'm not so sure that's a miracle. I think it's a spiritual technology. One that is taught how in our traditions. I say, oh boy, I'd love to learn how to use that. Hey, guess what? I would love for you to learn how to use it too. But I guess like the woman, you better be careful what you're asking for. You better be prepared. You better know what you're doing and how to do it. For example, today, many people might look at the likes of a Jocko Willink and say, gee whiz, I wish I could be a Navy SEAL. Well, you can be. You want to go join the military and become a Navy SEAL, a Green Beret, Sayeret Matkal for Israel, whatever? Go for it. But it requires a tremendous amount of effort and sacrifice and devotion and discipline. You want to learn the prophetic paths? You want to rise up to this level? Go for it. You can become a psychic SEAL. You can become a Kabbalistic Special Forces. All you got to do is devote yourself to the path and do what needs to be done. So maybe we should coin a new phrase. Be like Eliyahu. Because if he can do it and we follow in his footsteps, so can we. And I think that's the most profound lesson of this thing. Because this is the, gotta pay special attention. Eliyahu is doing it, right? Eliyahu is the one who says he prostrates himself on the boy 3 times. Why 3, not 2? Why 3, not 4? He's obviously performing a specific technique, all right? There's no symbolic in numbers. How come not 7? How come not 12? So he knows what he's doing. Whether he's on top of him, breathing into him, some kind of a chi transference, or some kind of acupuncture, I don't know. The details we don't have. But that's what he had. He revives the child, brings him down from the upstairs chamber, right? After healing him. Brings him down to the mom, and says, here, your son's alive. And the woman says, now I know that you're a man of God, and the word of God in your mouth is true. She didn't know that before? Sure she did. But she is so overwhelmed and impressed. Because not only can Eliyahu draw the chi, the energy, out of the, if you will, hiuli, the ether, to expand the flour and the oil, he could take out the chi and revive the soul. And anyone who draws close in this path is taught how to do these things. You're right, I'd love to be able to do that myself. We dedicate everything we do here at our KosherTorah school to teach the experience of the Prophetic Kabbalah. That's what our course is all about, to try to get us to that level. I'm not there yet. Maybe you will be. So I leave that door open for us all, because that's the lessons that we have here from the Bible. And in that note, we're going to conclude tonight's class. And like I said, I have an ebook in which I've written a lot of these teachings about Eliyahu HaNavi. You'll find a link to it here in the text. Check it out for yourselves. And remember, when you do order any ebook online, please put a little note that this is for whatever ebook you're purchasing. I'm not a mind reader like Eliyahu. I can't tell what you're ordering unless you tell me. Please tell me. Make my job and life easier. Thank you. Alrighty, we'll pick up in our next class with more about Eliyahu HaNavi and what tremendous lessons we have to learn from these great supermen of the past who are just as super for us today. I'm Ariel Tzadok of the KosherTorah School. Thanks for joining me. Good night. Shalom.